there's this weird compulsion with Republicans. Every time something happens, we're supposed to not talk about it. And I'm wondering if that isn't an inborn, or not inborn, like an innate part of how conservatives tend to grow up, which is religious, which also tells you not to talk about stuff. You know what I mean? Because every single time this happens, this exact video comes out. Ben Shapiro, why we need to stop politicizing mass shootings. I can't think of a more explicitly political subject than mass shootings being an issue, like a regular occurrence in a place. You'd have to talk about it. It is a political issue. There's nothing more political than societal problems. Hello? What is politics for, if not to this? So, I'm going to watch this sick, twisted, just slime of a human. I'm going to watch him talk about this while I try not to say things that would get me banned, but cheered in revolutionary France.
People talk about gun control in the way that they do. You have to understand that it seems to have nothing to do with actually preventing bad things from happening and everything to do with castigating their political opposition as evil.
Both can be true. I can do both. I can definitely think that Ben Shapiro is evil and advocate for policies that I disagree with him about because he's evil. Like, the evil thing is incidental, to be totally honest. You didn't have to choose to be evil. You could simply just be wrong right now. But you're evil now. It's just how it happened. So,
for example, yesterday, again, it's the same routine over and over. We're not even going to specify what policy we want. But we're just going to tell you there's a policy that solves all of this. And if you oppose us, it's because you oppose that policy and because you're either corrupted in the pay of the gun lobby or something. By the way, when
Yes, that's true. When you advocate against 89% of the American people, while the American people are saying, who live in these communities, are saying our communities suffer because of this thing, we would like it not to be the case. You are the enemy and evil and corrupt, because the only thing keeping you from agreeing with the 89% of people that want this to not continue to happen in their communities, the only reason you don't do that is because you are paid to have that opinion. Similar to Ben Shapiro, I would not be surprised a single bit if the NRA and its money made its way to Ben Shapiro and people like him. Ted Cruz, $2 million plus. Rand Paul, same ballpark. Mitch McConnell, etc. All of these people are paid by this one lobbying organization. They shouldn't exist. This should not be able to be a thing. If you are a freedom-loving American person and not a fascist and don't hate freedom, I guess, you can't think that allowing politicians to literally have their opinions bought is a good thing, no matter the political party you agree with. Almost especially if you think George Soros himself is paying people to make leftists or something. Mitt Romney got 13 million or something. Well, he ran for president, right? He's probably that's his all time, right? Not just recently, or did he get paid 13 million in the last 2 years?
When Joe Biden talks about the gun lobby, understand the so-called gun lobby in the United States has never been as weak as it is currently in the United States.
Good. I would like them to be weaker. Good. The only thing better than a weak NRA is a dead one. That's the only good NRA. Is just one that's dead and gone. Get the fuck out of here. We do not require it.
And the NRA used to be an extraordinarily powerful political force in the United States. It is not anymore. But the NRA has been suffering like hit after hit because of internal corruption and serious management problems in the NRA.
Good. Do you still take their money, Ben? Does it still pay people like Steven Crowder? You still have their representatives on from time to time, don't you? They still pay the fucking government. No American person should want their politicians to be able to be bribed. The politicians should always come from communities around the country and advocate on their behalf. That's what representatives are. Abolish Senate, expand representatives, have them, I don't know, every 100,000 people. I don't care. Every 200, every 300. I don't care. Probably at least every 100,000 people, right? One from every community. I don't care. However you determine community, boom, sure, that's one. Why abolish the Senate? Oh, boy. Think about it. Why does North Dakota get 2 senators and California gets 2 senators? Doesn't make any sense. We need a representative government. The Senate is part of the problem. It's undemocratic. Abolish the Electoral College for the same reason. It's undemocratic.
There are some other gun groups out there, but they don't have anything like serious political sway. The reality is that the gun lobby in the United States is gun owners in the United States, which is 100 million people in the United States. People who believe in the Second Amendment.
100 million people. I'm sorry. 100 million people? Oh, well. That's less than half. That's less than a third. Fewer than a third. Almost a quarter. But fewer than a third. Cool.
In other words, it's a popular movement in the United States for people who are law-abiding to be able to own guns.
Sounds unpopular to me. That's not popular. That's just a lot of people. By the way, I don't care if they have guns. I'm fine with guns. No one wants to take your guns.
And nobody who's law-abiding wants somebody who's not law-abiding to own guns.
The Constitution has the upper limit of representatives at 1 per every 330,000 people. I say we do that, kill the Senate, then have a parliamentary procedure in electing reps. Sure, yeah, I'm down.
I know there's this weird idea out there that somehow if you're a gun owner or you're pro-gun ownership, that somehow this means you want bad people to have guns. No. I'm just assuming that bad people will find a way to get guns, and I'd like to have one to protect myself.
You can have a gun. Who's he arguing against? I don't think anybody doesn't want... Is there anybody that doesn't want a single gun out there? We're all leftists.
And confiscating my gun isn't going to make school children any safer in any logical way at all.
What?
Make school kids less safe because I'm a person on hand who can presumably grab my gun and try and go do something about it.
Not if the police stop you, Ben. Let's just say I hope Ben gets to live out his fantasies. I want to see Ben in that situation. I want to see what happens. Gun control, gun regulation is not banning guns.
You know, if there were a way of magically, there's no one on earth who, if there were a way of snapping your fingers and magically every bad person couldn't have a gun, wouldn't snap their fingers. That policy does not exist. And yet the suggestion of the left is that it does exist.
Bro, I'm going to run for president and conceal carry onto the debate stage. Onto the debate stage, be a pro-gun lefty who's just pro-regulation, but bring a gun onto the stage of the debate. That's what I would like to do. Someone George Soros, make me president immediately.
Somehow, magically. So, for example...
think not even the RNC allows for guns. What do you mean don't allow? It would be my constitutional right, thank you. El Minato, thanks for the 50 biddies. I swear, if Ben uses this as an excuse to advertise this school shooter film, I will consider him irredeemable. Let's see what happens.
Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, is sort of odd because yesterday she actually spoke before the President of the United States on this, which is sort of a breach of protocol. Here is Vice President Harris.
A breach of protocol.
Who responded immediately by, again, suggesting that we just have to have the quote-unquote courage to take action. And this is the common line, is that it's just a question of willpower. We have the solutions. It's just well, no, you're going to have to name the solutions, and then we're going to have to discuss them.
There's a bill that's been sitting there that literally outlines this for, what, year two?
They don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about it's the willpower. Elect us to do some unspecified thing because we are the good people, and people who oppose us are morally unvirtuous.
You are morally unvirtuous.
Here is Kamala Harris.
That's true.
As a nation,
I don't like Kamala Harris either, though.
we have to have the courage to take action.
You're the nation. I'm going to yell at everybody. You're the fucking nation. You're the person in charge right now. Hello? What do you mean? What do you want my ass to do, motherfucker? You're the vice president, bitch. Do something.
And understand the nexus between what makes for reasonable and sensible public policy to ensure something like this never happens again.
Okay, does she suggest what that public policy would look like? Or what's in it? What would stop all this? Of course she doesn't. Just
because she's a Democrat. She's a liberal. Why don't you talk to a fucking leftist, Ben? Hello? I straight up, can we get a single leftist running for any government position that talks like this? There's got to be others out there. I'm not the best option. Isn't there anybody else? I simply cannot be the best option here. Can we get somebody else that might have a little bit of money that can do this kind of shit in this system? To just say it like it is, yeah, liberals are fucking dog shit. That's why I'm not a liberal. I caucus with the Democrats because I'm forced to. Would love to have a different party. And have disdain openly for the Democrats the whole time.
says it's out there, and we all know what it is. Really? Then articulate it. It's usually articulated. Then we can have an open conversation about what that policy looks like.
Ben's not being honest, though, because he doesn't like open conversations. Ben Shapiro would never be caught dead in an unmoderated conversation. Never.
Are we talking about stronger ERPOs? How are those enforced? Are we talking about different background checks? How is that made different? What are we talking about here? Because you never hear them actually specify the hard policy, because the minute that they do, it becomes absolutely clear it wouldn't stop a shooting like this. And you get the same thing from Barack Obama, who is...
Stop a shooting like this. Him not having the weapon would stop the shooting. Boom. That's the policy. That guy doesn't get to buy the gun that he used, or the ammunition he did, in the amounts he did, or the speed in which he got them. Hello? What do you mean it wouldn't have stopped it? He might just find another way. He didn't. I'd love to close the loophole up front of being able to legally buy it. And then if he would just buy it anyway, we can discuss things after that starts happening, Ben. How about that? Does that make sense?
Fond of
he legally bought 1,600 plus rounds of ammunition.
Drawing this stark moral contrast between himself on the side of the... He was the
3,500? I thought it was only
great light bringer, of course, and all of his political opponents who are on the side of darkness and evil for not simply acquiescing to all of his political prescriptions. Here's Barack Obama's statement yesterday, quote, "Across the country, parents are putting their children to bed, reading stories, singing lullabies, and in the back of their minds, they're worried about what might happen tomorrow after they drop their kids off at school or take them to a grocery store or any other public space."
That is true.
Michelle and I grieve
that is true.
with the families in Uvalde who are experiencing pain no one should have to bear. We're also angry for them. Nearly 10 years after Sandy Hook and 10 days after Buffalo, our country is paralyzed, not by fear, but by a gun lobby and a political party that have shown no willingness to act in any way that might help prevent these tragedies. right? It's their unwillingness. They're evil. Make no mistake. What he is saying is that if you oppose his political prescriptions, which go unnamed in this thread, is because you are an evil human being.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fine with that. I'm 100% fine with that. Yeah. I think the people that put out these legislations against them are evil. And then I think, yes, the 11% of people that are against this are evil. I'm happy to say that. You're an evil person. Sure. Okay. That was easy.
You're a bad human being. You're in league with shooters. You're somebody who wants dead kids if you don't agree with Barack Obama.
Yes. Yes. I don't... without qualification, yes. True.
He says, it's long past time for action. Any kind of action. And it's another tragedy, and a quieter but no less tragic one, for families to wait another day. May God bless the memory of the victims, and in the words of Scripture, heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds. So I have a question. This one phrase is so telling. It's long past time for action, any kind of action.
Yeah, any kind.
That is not a recipe for public policy.
He's an ex-president. What? Hello? Wait, everything Barack Obama said there was true. It was liberal, and it wasn't as mean as it should have been. But I mean, like, he's an ex-president. He doesn't have to set policy anymore. I don't know. That's not the... Kamala Harris, sure. But not Barack Obama. Hello? It was tweets.
That is an emotional appeal to bad public policy.
To good public policy.
You can't make public policy on any issue like this.
I would also train to fight Ben Shapiro in MMA. Again, I would have an 8-pack almost overnight. I wouldn't touch a carb.
Past time for action. Any
water and boiled chicken and rice for me.
Any kind of action? Broccoli. Like if I run into a brick wall, was that an action? Like what exactly is the action that you're proposing? Is the action that you're proposing cutting greenhouse gas emissions? Like what? It's time for any kind of action?
Is that what you really believe? Is Ben obfuscating with him pretending not to understand what he's talking about is just wild stuff. Screwbucket, thanks for the 14 months. Like what a weird obfuscation here.
Presumably not, because I can propose you 5 different types of action that Democrats have rejected because they don't think that either it will work or that it is worth the cost or whatever it is.
The 5 types of action is always to arm people, bro.
It's all an attempt at moral suasion aimed directly at people who disagree with them on their policy prescriptions by calling them murderers. Chris Murphy did the same routine from the floor of the Senate yesterday. He got up, and of course, he got all of the plaudits of the media for doing this. Here we go.
Find a path forward here. Work with us to find a way to pass laws that make this less likely. It will not solve the problem of American violence by itself, but by doing something, we at least stop sending this quiet message of endorsement to these killers whose brains are breaking, who see the highest levels of government doing nothing.
True.
That's okay. This is crazy. So it's a quiet level of endorsement to not pass bad public policy.
Yes, Ben. It's a quiet level of endorsement to not pass any public policy that would help stop this from happening, such as limiting the ease of people getting the exact types of weapons, AR-15s and similar weapons, from mass shooting events because they have too much killing potential and are too easy to use, and you don't enforce any sort of standard for someone to own it. I am fine with you having different levels of gun licenses and different levels of background checks for you to own different weapons. That's something we can talk about. If you wanna be the type of person that gets trained to use these weapons, and like agree that you will be, give away some of your liberties of privacy to the government if you want to try to achieve these things, I'm fine with that. I think that's a reasonable. Like, I would get rid of the Patriot Act tomorrow, but I would be fine if you wanted military-grade weapons in your home, if you had to register yourself for the kind of surveillance something like the Patriot Act allows, where they get your phone and stuff like that and your emails. Like, I'd be fine. Frankly, that would help domestic terrorism people, right? Because you'd be looking at the specific kinds of people that are even looking to get this done, right? You could still have it. It doesn't have to be cost prohibitive. All it has to do is make sure the person knows what they're getting into. Like, we force people to get driver's licenses. Like, gun licenses are easy to get. I had one when I was fucking, 12, 13? I had a gun license. They just hand those fucking things out. What do you think I did to get my kid's gun license? I was able to shoot fucking shotguns at living animals. They're like, that guy's, that's fine. He can shoot rifles and shit. He's a 13-year-old. Surely he has his head on straight. Hello?
You think that shooters are sitting around going, well, if they had passed that gun control bill, that really would have been a signal that they're taking this thing seriously. Guess I won't kill those kids.
No, Ben. It's not about how they feel on the inside. What? It's about them being able to do the thing. It also is about helping law enforcement. If you're pro-law enforcement, you should want the populace not to have machine guns. You should just not want them to have them. It doesn't make sense. And again, I've said this. I'm fine with a community armament. I'm fine with people having their own personal protective devices like revolvers, pump-action shotguns, and then, recreational stuff or hunting stuff. Bolt-action rifles would be included in that. Fine with all of that. But there's no reason that you need 30 rounds, magazine-fed, semi-automatic, military style, ease of use. It's got a super light frame, barely any recoil, shoots like a dream. They're great weapons. Wait, did you block that term? Shooting Russians? No, you can allow that. Charmhole, you don't get to talk shit until you tier 3 sub in the chat. You know the rules. You certainly can't spam either. And don't let somebody else pay for you. No, bro, you really can't spam in here. All right, he's been in here before. I'm gonna untime out you for 1 second. This is your chance, man. This is your chance, Charmhole. Last chance, man. Yeah, he's back. Like every single time. Dude, I have no patience. None whatsoever today. You streamers pit. I mean, just don't spam in my chat, bro, and engage with the conversation. That's fine. I don't care if I fucking disagree with you. Yeah, it's done, dude. Fuck off. I just don't care. I mean, you're just like barely a human being. You're like a fucking brainstem with bad hair. Not worth it.
Is that's really what Chris Murphy, this dolt, is out there saying? No, he's not saying that. He doesn't really believe that mass shooters sit around and wonder at the internal machinations of Senate committees on gun control. He knows that's not the case. What he's really saying is, if you don't do what I want you to do, it's because you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to go to the media and Hollywood to just make this absolutely clear. So every headline at the New York Times and Washington Post today is about gun control. So, for example, McConnell says he is, quote,
Yes, gun control, gun regulation, not taking guns, gun control of the weapons.
Horrified and heartbroken.
It's so easy. It's not even hard. You can literally just look at any policy and go, should a fucking child have this weapon? No, they shouldn't. That's it. That's the whole thing.
The Washington Post. No, sorry, this is the New York Times. Quote, McConnell says he is horrified and heartbroken.
Can we talk about that? So I thought it was interesting for just a second that he said, like, oh, you want to, like, shoot Russians or whatever. And, like, guys, my policy for guns still allows Ukrainians to shoot Russians. The leftist policy that I have involved or have been talking about and would involve in any sort of policy thing moving forward would, of course, be to allow community guns, just not the private ownership of them. You'd still have access to these things, and you could still fight the Russians if they invaded. It's self-defense, yeah, absolutely, of course. And when you don't need them anymore, those weapons go right back into the community cache, because that's what they're for. They're for being able to go to your community and be able to shoot these guns and get familiar with them properly and safely. And then, if you really want to privately own them, I'm totally fine with a licensing agreement and some sort of, like, restriction of your privacy. Like, it makes tons of sense. Yeah, arm every person that leftists support or interact with, any minority group, I absolutely 100% agree. You should be armed. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. You cannot criticize my gun control measure. It's uncriticizable. The only thing you can argue is, I want guns, though, but you don't get them. I mean, you just don't. It is what it is. You get to have some guns. Obviously, there's guns that you shouldn't just be able to have without any training or any sort of, like, acquiescence on your behalf to be held responsible for keeping them. You know what I mean? We should be licensing them. There should be absolutely insurance on them for any kind of injury they may cause to another person. And I mean, it should be hard to get the ones that are really easy to kill folks with. It should be easy to get a gun like a revolver, a pump-action shotgun, and a bolt-action rifle. Real easy. I'm fine with that. I don't even necessarily need you to, like I think an 18-year-old can probably have these things if they have a good background check and, like, you know, I don't know how you want to consider a background check. I think there should be an evaluation. There should be some sort of a mental evaluation. Someone that lives in the community like in the gun place or whatever, that is much like how the FDA operates, and they sit down and they talk to whoever wants to get a gun, and that's their whole gig. I'd be fine with that. That seems fine. And then you talk to the person, have a little conversation, and feel them out in person. Get the vibe, right? There's going to be people that fall through the cracks. We're still going to get criminals. It's still going to happen, obviously. Nobody says it's perfect. But you know what's definitely not going to happen again? This. This definitely would not happen again. He got through police. They got scared. They're pussies. They're cowards. They're worthless. Good guys with guns didn't do anything. They listened for 78 minutes while children died. This is a political issue.
But gives no indication he is dropping his opposition to new gun laws. Well, hold up a second. Which gun law is being proposed? Again, the idea here is that if you do not acquiesce to whatever we say, it doesn't matter what X is. We have to do, I mean, they're literally saying this. It doesn't matter what this empty vessel we're going to say is action is.
I mean, it's not literally what's being said.
You have to go along with us, or
there's I mean, which one is it? I forget what the bill's called, but they brought it up. It's just been sitting there waiting for the Senate to vote on it, but they won't.
You're providing quiet impetus to shooters. That's an amazing statement. The Washington Post, from Sandy Hook to Buffalo, and
you should only be able to buy ammo from the state, get all the guns you want. That's another workaround.
Valdi, 10 years of failure on gun control. Again, why is it?
People will be making their own ammo really fast.
Back to our original question.
I don't think you can do that.
Why is it then when it's in Buffalo, New York, the issue is white supremacy, but not gun control. When it happens in the New York subway system, it's not gun control and it's not white supremacy, so I guess it just disappears. When it happens in California and it's not
creates black markets for stuff.
A white supremacist attack, then we don't talk gun control because California gets an A rating from Brady Center for gun control. When it happens in Texas and it's not a white supremacist, we have to talk about Sandy Hook, Buffalo, Uvalde, then it's about gun control.
What do you mean? It's also about... It's about both. Gun control should have been the case. They talked about gun control with the fucking guy in Buffalo as well. What do you mean? He should have been flagged and not been able to buy the weapon. Like, hello? It's not either or. It is both. People making their own ammo is less likely to go on a rampage right now because that's how people don't have to do that right now. I wouldn't hate if I don't want the state involved, to be honest. I don't want the state involved. No. I'm small government, dude. I'm little tiny baby government. The government does not need to be involved in the sale of weapons. What they need to be involved in is the regulation of the sale of weapons. Simply regulated.
It's about failure on gun control. And again, the not quiet implication is you're bad. You're
bad.
Evil. So Rob Reiner just says it straight up. Rob Reiner, the director and actor, he tweeted out, the blood of every child that dies of gun violence in this country is on the hands of the Republican Party.
Yes.
The blood of all those kids is on the hands of the Republican Party, which is quite amazing since there are a bunch of children who are dying in Chicago pretty much every weekend in mass shootings.
Yeah, still same.
And Rob Reiner does not seem to care.
Still the same, yes. Yes, because was it like something like 68% or more, was it 68, 9? I can't remember. It's a tremendous volume, a tremendous number of the guns, over half of the guns involved in shootings in Chicago were purchased in places that don't have the bans on weapons that Chicago does. Yes. Still, yes, Chicago is Republican fault.
Because Chicago is completely Democrat run.
No. But do you know where... Did you know that cars exist? And then, like, if something's banned somewhere, I could just go somewhere else for it? Fireworks used to be banned here in Michigan. They're not anymore. Fireworks used to be banned in Michigan for a while. It was a nice time. They should ban fireworks again. I don't think they're worthwhile. I'm fine if like the city or the county or the community wants to put something on, but private citizens with fireworks, just I mean, they're just stupid. They just make everybody in the community annoyed. Like there's a guy around here who loves his fireworks. It's the only one. Except for the major holidays, right? 4th of July, and he'll do stuff on Labor Day. Like, which they don't even know what Labor Day is, do they? But takes away the right to peace. I mean, it really does. It's annoying. I'm fine on... I get it on some holidays. Well, that's part of it. Fine with it. In fact, maybe that's the only day I'm allowing it. But, like, you want to explode stuff on 4th of July? Maybe. We just don't need this shit, man. There's so many, like, simple things. Anyway, the point was, we used to go to Ohio to buy them. Because, Ben, we got to, and then we just walked back across the fucking line, and we had them. So what do you think people do with guns, bro? Hello?
But again, like...
Where are they going to go? Canada to get them? Mexico?
I'm not suggesting that Lori Lightfoot is in favor of children
because we give Mexico guns right now.
Getting shot. I don't think she's in favor of children getting shot. I think she has bad public policy ideas, but I would never suggest that she's in favor of kids being murdered.
Yes, you would. What do you mean? He does this shit all the time. Why does he pretend like he has moral high ground? Weren't we talking about abortion like 3 weeks ago?
Fred Guttenberg, who, you know, you have to give Fred Guttenberg at least some level of flexibility here, considering that he actually lost his daughter in a mass shooting. He's now become a spokesperson for gun control. His daughter was murdered at Parkland. But here he was basically saying that anyone who disagrees with him, we don't love our kids. If you're a Republican, you don't love your
Seething.
kids, which is, I mean, I know parents who also lost kids at Parkland and who oppose Fred Guttenberg's specific prescriptions. Did they not love their kids who were murdered at Parkland? Here's Fred Guttenberg.
I heard you with Senator Murphy earlier. He has been heroic. He needs one of these Republicans. This can't be Democrats solving this. These Republicans need to actually love their children as well. And they need to walk into his office and they need to grab him by the arms and say, we're with you.
Republicans apparently, they don't love their kids. Meanwhile, you have
Republicans do not love their kids. I'm going to toss this out there. I don't think Republicans love their kids. I think Republicans love the idea of their kids. I'm going to toss that out there. I think Republicans treat their child like their children like trophies. Like, look at me, I'm procreated. Do you know how many times have you interacted with a Republican and they said, how many kids do you have? Just saying. You're my property vibes, of course. I don't think Republicans do love their kids. Prove me wrong, please. Do something in the best interest of your children, please. I think you love your kids. I don't think Republicans know what love is. I don't think Republicans understand what genuinely loving a person is like. Because it's not unconditional. Now, there's some people that you could find unconditional love. That happens. I would not say a Republican person is typically one of those people. If you love your kid unconditionally, will you love them if they're trans? If you love your kid unconditionally, will you love them if they're gay? Will you love them if they're a leftist? Will you love them if you told them fucked up shit, or if you mistreated them in some way, or if you abused them over the years and then are told about it? Will you still love them? Or would you rather advocate for, people that hate them and want them to not exist? It doesn't feel like love to me. So yeah, I'm comfortable saying that as well.
Steve Kerr, who's been allowed to speak out about public policy again. So Steve Kerr, of course, was completely silent when it came to China and genocide against Uyghurs. Whenever there...
Steve Kerr completely silent about Chinese international politics. Okay. That's a place we can start, Ben. He's not a Chinese man. Steve Kerr is, in fact, an American.
There is a gun control issue. He jumps to it. We'll also point out that Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, at the height of riots in Oakland, suggested that police officers ought to be removed from...
It's interesting, Ben, if you're so outraged about such a thing, it's interesting to me that you don't get mad about police officers killing American citizens. Sure, the Uyghur genocide is a terrible thing, but don't you think also any other person losing their life for unjust means or unjust reasons is a thing? Don't seem very outraged.
From Oakland schools. And this is something that he actually said in 2020. But he went viral for a rant that he delivered just before a playoff basketball game last night. And he went off. And again, this is not a call for actual measures that would prevent shootings like this. This is an emotional appeal suggesting that everyone who is not on his side of the political aisle is a bad person.
This is a good speech, and I'm so glad Ben's showing you. Because you're not sportsers, so I got to see this. Check this out. Steve Kerr is one of my favorite people in sports.
Now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8 which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like.
Okay, now, Ben Shapiro said that this wasn't... He cut out the middle of this speech. I'd love to see Steve Kerr. Oh, well, wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? It's like, I could show you.
I'm not going to talk about basketball.
Before this happens, though, before we watch this again in its entirety uncut, where he does prescribe some solutions, and the solution he prescribes is simply don't let politicians be paid to have opinions about legislation, which is a great prescription. It's important for you to know that Steve Kerr is the son of a person who was assassinated for politics. Steve Kerr's dad, his name was Malcolm Kerr. He died in 1984 in Beirut, and he was politically assassinated. So, and a lefty. But Steve Kerr is incredibly based. So, yeah.
Well, nothing's happened with our team in the last 6 hours. We're going to start the same way tonight. Any basketball questions don't matter. Since we left shoot-around, 14 children were killed 400 miles from here, and a teacher. And in the last 10 days, we've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California, and now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of the, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years.
Oh, weird. I thought Ben Shapiro said that he didn't have any specific political prescriptions. Odd, Ben. That's really odd, Ben. Why wouldn't you allow that, Ben? It's almost like you cut it out, Ben.
All of you senators who,
Hello?
Which is a background. Now we have children murdered at school.
Look at where he cuts it.
When are we going to do something? There's 50 senators.
Oh, wow. Fuck you, man. Just fuck off. Fuck Ben Shapiro. I'm done with him. Fuck Ben Shapiro. Done.